Hey guys, happy Monday. I was looking through the list of questions for topics that everybody has sent in, and today none of them spoke to me. Like usually one will jump out as like, okay, that'd be a good one to talk about today. And I'm like, and they're good questions, but I was just thinking, why are none of these sticking out with me today? And I realized that it's kind of reflecting how my mood's been all week. And I would say very, very apathetic, flat. So I decided to talk about apathy today because that is one of the cruxes of recovery, I think, is getting into apathy. And staying apathetic is not a good thing for recovery. I'm working on my apathy right now. That's why I'm talking about it. Because if you stay apathetic, no matter how long you've been in recovery, there's always a big red flag for relapse. So, how do we avoid, or I guess get out of these ruts? Because all of us, it's normal to go through cycles and get to points where you're having a day that you just don't care about anything. And when you don't care about anything, then you don't care if you slip up. You don't care if you miss a meal. Who cares? You'll eat the next one, and then if you miss the next one, oh well. If you happen to purge that day, oh well. That's apathy, and that what starts getting you in trouble. At least for me, because I find that when I get apathetic, then it's followed by either anxiety or depression. And when you don't stay on top of that, then that can lead to relapse. So, what are some of the tools that we can use to get out of apathy? Well, this week it's been so bad that, believe it or not, I didn't even feel like running. Which is probably okay because I've just had a major race last weekend. Even though physically I didn't feel that shot, I think mentally I was just kind of shot. So it's probably not the end of the world to take that off, but it was getting to the point where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing anything at all. So one of the things that I've had to do with myself this week is to just write myself out a list and make, not something that's unattainable, write a list and then pick, the top 2 or 3 things that are the priority and force yourself to do them, which is very hard when you're depressed or apathetic. Because when you just don't feel like doing anything at all, getting yourself, it seems like once you get the momentum and you get moving, you can get going, but it's getting to that point where you're like flat, and here's the moving point. Excuse me. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. I think because I just went out for a short run. I've made myself go out there, but it's like a chemical reaction, okay? Like, you have to have a point where there's like a reaction point, and so you have to have a catalyst to get you to that reaction point. And once you hit that reaction point, then it kind of takes care of itself. But until you hit that reaction point, you're just in this spot where you're just like, I know I need to do that, but I can't get myself to move. So, there's things that, and really, if you are in a situation where you are not extremely busy in life and you don't have a lot of things to keep you busy, that is probably a dangerous ground to be on. And I'm not saying that you have to overwhelm yourself, because the other opposite end of that I have a tendency to get into is to overwhelm yourself so much that you don't have time to think about things because you're more comfortable just being busy all the time. Either one of those can get out of balance and not be particularly healthy. So if you have a tendency to not get involved in things, I would encourage you to organize your life such that you have things that when you get into a situation where you're feeling apathetic and want to invert and shut out the world and start to isolate yourself, because that's kind of what you're doing. You start to feel apathetic, you don't care about anything, and you just start to close down a little bit and isolate a little bit, and it becomes familiar. And then pretty soon it's out of control. And you, even if you've been in recovery for a while, it's amazing how fast the eating disorder can just come back with apathy. So, find a balance of things that you can turn to, a support network, a hobby. Make a list for yourself of things to do that when you get apathetic, that you can organize your days in such that it's structured, and that you almost, since you kind of feel robotic sometimes, that you almost don't even have to think about it. You just know that you have to follow that list until you get to the point where you're out of that apathy. So if you're on the other end of the spectrum, like me, it seems like I'm always busy, but when I get apathetic, there's a lot of things that I let go that are just like the little boring things that, I'm also kind of ADHD, so the fine little details sometimes of things that I don't want to do just annoy me. So when I get apathetic, it actually helps me to slow down and force myself to do those little minute things that I usually avoid, because it actually gets me to a balanced state. Because when I have to focus on those, I can't have my mind wandering on all these bigger projects while ignoring these little projects. So there is my spill on apathy, and I hope that helps some of you out there, because I think that's one thing that isn't talked about a lot, is that the apathy that we get into with recovery and with our eating disorders, and how that can be a really big crux, because we can make a ton of progress, but when we start to feel apathetic and we let that take over, then we can almost go right back to ground zero just like that, and then find out how hard to get out of that cycle again. And so you can never get too confident in recovery. You always have to be on the lookout. So there's my video for the week, and I'll see you next week.